Hello, I would like to say thank you very much to ALTERSEA and C Junction for this international physio conference. It is a great honor to me to presenting my paper on the COVID-19 fatwas and socio-religious practices, especially intended to observe Muhammadiyah's social mission and engagement in coping with the outbreak in Indonesia. In the Reformasi era, Indonesian Islam has been a contested realm of firstly, the established Islam belonged to Muhammadiyah, Nahdlatul Ulama, and Majlis Ulama Indonesia or the Council of Indonesian Ulama with a moderate and progressive strand of Islam. And on the other hand, the emerging Islam belongs to Islamic Defenders Front, FPI, Front Pembela Islam, Salafi Wahhabi Networks, Hizbut Tahrir and Tarbiyah movement, embracing more conservative and rigorous strand of Islam. In this context, it is worth noting that the outbreak COVID-19 officially declared in Indonesia by President Joko Widodo on March last year becomes the new battle of religious debate and contestation between this established Islam and the new establishing Islam, between moderate progressive Islam versus conservative outlook of Islam. As the largest modernist Islamic organization in Indonesia with approximately 30 million members, Muhammadiyah has recently been challenged to prove its progressive understanding of Islam during the COVID-19. Since the March last year, the organization founded on 12 November 1912 in Yogyakarta, Indonesia, has issued religious fatwas and policies to adjust their religious and social activities during the sanitary crisis. However, its fatwas on COVID-19 were an object of virulent critics and opposition from conservative elements within Muhammadiyah and within Indonesian Islam who believe in a conspiracy theory that COVID-19 is being made to destruct Islam. In this presentation, drawing upon Muhammadiyah's official fatwas, policies, statement, and socio-religious practice, I seek to discover why and how the organization adapts new circumstances in their rituals, new site of worship, and at the same time fight against religious ignorance and hoaxes around the COVID-19. It also seeks to figure out how Muhammadiyah mobilizes its networks and resources to deal with the outbreak and opposition. Finally, it will examine its relationship with state actors and non-state actors nationally and internationally to face the impact of such a very contagious new virus. So, after its first discovery in Wuhan, China in October 2019, Indonesia witnessed three kinds of perception toward the COVID-19. Firstly, denial and negligence of its existence, which interestingly hails from the most respected figures of Jokowi's administration and some Muslim preachers. In January-February 2020, for example, Jokowi's government denied the outbreak in Indonesia and its possible contagiousness in the country. The Vice President Ma'ruf Amin, for example, he said, COVID-19 is far away from us, as we believe that Indonesian Muslim do kunut, praying doa in emergency time in their 5 days prayer, notably subuh prayer. A senior minister even made a joke. Corona does not exist in Indonesia, but Corona, a Japanese Toyota car, is allowed here. Secondly, we found also selective and exclusive perception that says that the COVID-19 does exist, but it is not harmful to Muslims. Such perception also came from conservative and even moderate Muslim preacher or ulema, like Habib Lutfi from NU, member of Patimbras, the consultative council to the President Jokowi. He said in front of his congregation in Central Java Don't be afraid of COVID-19. It is a creature of God. As Muslim, we are obliged to be afraid of Allah. Then, this perception shared by Ustad Somad, who proclaimed, COVID is soldier of Allah. It will punish China, not us, Muslim, and its people for torturing and oppressing Muslim Uyghur in Xinjiang and eating non-halal food and beverage. Geared up by conspiracy theory and selective exclusive perception, they initially rejected government's policies on sanitary protocol like wearing masks, social and physical distancing, as well as their refutation to fatwa, modifying rituals and creating new sites such as on praying at home in place of going to mosque, fatwas online prayer like a free-day prayer, Taraweh, night prayer of Ramadan, and Salat Idul Fitri and Idul Adha. They do not accept actually any modification and adjustment in Islamic rituals. They are also hostile to the vaccination program, especially to the Chinese Sinovac vaccine, regarded as a chemical weapon to obstruct Indonesian Muslim and people. However, as the outbreak was going much more virulent in July-August last year, such conservative ustad finally told their congregation and Muslim fellows to respect the COVID-19 protocol enacted by the government. Thirdly, rational, progressive, and scientific perception have been also found within establishing Islam, belongs to Muhammadiyah, Nahdlatul Ulama, and also MUI. Muhammadiyah coined in this case that the COVID-19 does exist and is perilous and very dangerous for all human being lives, regardless of Muslim, non-Muslim, races, nation, and genders, based on objective and factual evidences likely to non-Muslim nation, Muslim world are also suffering from the pandemics. The right of Hajj pilgrimage, the rights of Hajj pilgrimage going to Mecca was cancelled in 2020. The mosque of Medina and Makkah has implemented physical distancing and modified certain ritual performance. In this regard, actually, Muhammadiyah has issued some fatwas modifying and adjusting its Islamic rituals and to orchestrating social mission and engagement to halt the virus. Muhammadiyah is incredibly active in updating its social and religious opinion and policies dealing with the pandemic. It cooperates with the government in the vaccination program, supported the MUI's fatwa on the halalness of vaccine, Sinovac and AstraZeneca, for example, although it contains illicit element or haram elements. However, to Muhammadiyah, the halalness of these two vaccines is of much importance to save people in time of emergency. Muhammadiyah, besides of its critical stance against government's low performance and inconsistency in mitigating the crisis, Muhammadiyah is in line with the COVID-19 program of the government. Muhammadiyah fatwas, commissioned by Majlis Tarjih, the Department of Issuing Fatwa, is drawn upon its progressive methods on bayani, textual approaches, burhani, evidence-based and scientific approaches, and irfani, philosophical and spiritual sophistic approaches. Furthermore, Muhammadiyah fatwas prayer at home, like Taraweh, Idul Fitri, Idul Adha, is aimed at halting virus circulation and at saving life. In so doing, Muhammadiyah has consulted to epidemiologists, experts, intellectuals, and ulema to produce such fatwas and policies dealing with the outbreak. However, Muhammadiyah also home of conservative elements, heirs of a more conservative strand of Islam inherited from Muhammad Rashid Rida's thinking and thought and Haji Rasul in the 1930s. Conservative elements have rejected Muhammadiyah's official fatwa and policies during the pandemic. They said, we should not be frightened by COVID-19 but by Allah. But why should we perform rituals following the World Health Organization, not Allah and His Prophet Muhammad? So, our credo or Aqidah, Islamic Aqidah, begins to deviate from its authentic path. Thus, Muhammadiyah's leaders such as President Haidar Nasir and General Secretary Abdul Muti have been accused of betraying Islam. In facing the conservative outlook toward COVID-19, notably within its members and congregation, Muhammadiyah's stand is crystal and clear. President of Muhammadiyah Haidar Nasir said, "Conservative cannot catch up the renewal spirit tajdid of Muhammadiyah, which is based on the dynamic interpretation of purification and dynamization. Purification after Muhammadiyah is going back to Quran and Muhammad's tradition, and dynamization is a contextual understanding of Islam based on rational and scientific approaches to solving human problems. Muhammadiyah has also been actively invited to contend misleading conservative outlooks and circulating disinformation and hoaxes among Muslim and Indonesian people. Through its wide networks and resources, Muhammadiyah has been engaged in educating people to adopt rational stance toward the outbreak by respecting sanitary protocols. It published guidebooks on fatwa and COVID, protocols and other information, digital meme, talk shows, press conferences regularly organized to update the situation, and social media campaign like in YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. Besides of producing fatwas and policies, Muhammadiyah mobilized and deployed its networks and resources to face the crisis. Supported by its philanthropic body, Lazismu Lembaga Amil Zakat Infak Sodaqah Muhammadiyah and Majlis Tarjih, Muhammadiyah created an ad hoc agency, Muhammadiyah COVID-19 Comment Center, MCCC, in March 2020. MCCC is actually charged to boost public consciousness of the virus danger and mortality and distribute social and financial help to Indonesian people throughout Indonesia. Having tremendous resources and large networks, thousands of schools and madrasah from kindergarten to senior high level, 180 universities, 400 healthcare clinics and hospitals, Muhammadiyah also collaborate with state and non-state actors nationally and globally with government, World Health Organization, Temasek Foundation of Singapore, and the David Australia, Buddha Suci in Jakarta, and private corporations like Wardah and Indonesia Power in distributing the vaccine, health tools such as ventilators, X-rays, reusable masks, bunny suit, face shield, surgical mask and medicine, and also livelihood to support the most unprivileged and suffering people. In terms of fundraising, through its philanthropic agency Lazismu, Muhammadiyah has raised more than 300 billion rupiah in 2020, which are then distributed to do urgent care activities, supporting the school and educational system and humanitarian relief action and economic programs. Having collected the donation, Muhammadiyah has distributed it to more than 30 million beneficiaries in all over the country, especially Java, as the most touched and contagious area in Indonesia, regardless of its religious and political affiliation, race, and gender. To conclude my presentation, actually I would like to note that as an heir of reformist movement, during the pandemic period, Muhammadiyah has been engaged in many meaningful religious debates and discourses to enlightening Muslim and Indonesian people on how to deal with the COVID, how to adjust their ritual and social activities in new sites and realm, and also actively being an avant-garde in deploying social mission and practice to save people from the hazardous virus. Finally, I also find that Muhammadiyah, as a faith-based NGO or Islamic civil society, provides creative ways of protection, care, healing, salvation, and enlightenment, which could be understood in the frame of its socio-religious mission and practice to saving people and addressing these unprecedented circumstances. Thank you very much for your attention.